Ron, go back 20 years. You're in the weather station. You're watching the storm approaching. You've been warning us all day long this could provide a tornado. When did you realize that this was a tornado and was coming right toward us in downtown Nashville?
We watched the radar and hey, it looked really suspicious. I remember I was talking with, just got off the phone with the Cheatham County Emergency Management folks. No tornado there, but it's headed our way. And it was when Joe is aiming the sky cam out to the west and we see this lowering of a cloud and this mammoth cloud, and we knew this is headed right for Nashville. The moment of recognition that both he and I have talked about, this is Joe Case, was when we're both looking at that sky cam in kind of a detached sort of way. But then it clicked in both of our minds at the same time, wait a minute, we are right where that's headed for. You know, it was obviously right headed for the station. So that was the moment that we realized not only were we covering a big threatening weather story, but we were going to be part of the story.
Wasn't there an urban legend that tornadoes really just don't hit downtown areas?
Yeah, and you know, I think the legend that tornadoes don't hit cities was why this was such an important outbreak, one of the reasons, and such a long-lasting one in its effects, because now everybody had evidence that tornadoes could strike anywhere. We had more significant tornadoes in terms of strength even that day, but many of them were in rural areas, and it just doesn't resonate with a lot of people when you see, you know, barns torn down and things of that sort. But when it strikes the heart of a city in places where everybody knew about, it's just a different feel emotionally, I think.
Did you have a sense of how big the tornado was?
It was
or did it matter because it was coming through downtown?
Exactly, yeah. But Chris, it was a very big tornado width-wise. In fact, if you look at those pictures from Skycam, it is filling the whole field of view there across the downtown area. At that point, it really had not gotten together to form the classic funnel, which we saw more of when it moved over into East Nashville and eventually, you know, up into the Hermitage area. But yeah, it was a big tornado. The rating on it was an F3. So certainly a big one. Probably wasn't quite that strong when it hit downtown, but a big tornado. You know, one of the things that I always enjoyed about this job is you never for sure knew what was going to happen. Do you like that part of it too?
I love that part of it. You know, that you don't know what's going to happen. And the dullest job in television is to be the anchor man. And the best part of the job is when you can get off the anchor desk and go into the field and report, which we all did after that tornado hit.
When you came to work that morning, there was probably no thought about the tornado hitting the television station. And I didn't think about that. I knew there was a high risk day. There were probably, in the course of my career here, there were probably about 24 of these high risk days. And so you know generally that you're going to have a busy day, but it never dawned on me that it was going to hit the station.
Well, I was listening to you guys because you were down here, I think, in the newsroom.
For a short period of time.
For a short period of time. And when it started to hit, like a darn fool, I go up the steps so I can go and look at it. And here comes Sheila Powell, a little Sheila, backed up by all kind of people rushing to the safety of the basement where the newsroom was located and pushed me back. They probably saved my life, I don't know.
I was never aware that there was any danger inside this building. I mean, this is a very massively constructed building, and it didn't shake. Did you feel anything like that?
It was
not
safe.
at all.
It was safe. Then the lights go out. The lights go out down here, and we were without power. What went through your mind at that point?
Well, how do we do our job? I mean, that's, you know, we got to warn the public. We got no cameras, we got no microphones, we got no connection to the outside world. What a terrible feeling.
Yeah. Then they sent us out to the transmitter.
And how did that decision come about?
You know, I don't know. At that point, I was just told to go to the transmitter, which I thought would be the best thing. our engineering department did a great job. They ran a wire from one camera into the transmitter somehow. And we had a little tape player. So when I wanted to show some tape, I had to tell the viewers, we're going to unplug the camera and plug in the videotape machine. So it'll be just a momentarily black here while we do that. And then somebody hit the play button and we showed that. And we came and we had to unplug the wire from the tape and put it back in the camera. And up there by the transmitter with lightning all around us.
Hail at one point.
Hail at one point. Yeah. And we were without any sound for a long while. And that's when I wrote the sign just to say, we survived the tornado. We'll be on the air soon, because I was concerned on many levels. The fact that we all worked downtown and our families knew it hit downtown, and I wanted them to know we were all survived and everything was okay. And then I wrote another note later saying, we'll have exclusive video. I was still selling, even though I had to write it. We'll have exclusive video. And we did have exclusive video, and that's the one you were talking about that our Skycam caught coming in.
You know, it's interesting, Chris, how many people must have been watching us to see when we return, because Nashville then, as in the case now, was a metered market.
Yeah.
So they had these devices on people's television sets to actually record what they were watching for the Nielsen, the ratings.
Yeah.
And as I recall, during the course of that afternoon, after we went off the air, during those, I don't know, we were off the air maybe an hour or 45 minutes, we had viewership. I mean, there were actually measurable number of sets tuned in to see, are they going to come back?
I got the greatest compliment, because we were out by the transmitter, unplugging, plugging wires, all that thing. And some lady stopped me and said, Mr. Clark, I really enjoyed your coverage of the tornado. It looked more like a disaster than anybody else's coverage. And I said, lady, you are so true. You're so right. That was a disaster.
And I remember you commenting up there on the hill what a storm would do to our level of technology. I think you said something about back into the technology stone ages. You were holding, at the time, you were holding a walkie-talkie, I think, right? And trying to get all these reports in and plug cables in and out. And it was kind of like being bombed back into the Stone Age as far as technology is concerned.
Yeah, it really was. When you have to resort to writing on a yellow pad your coverage and holding it up to the camera, that is about as basic as it can get.
But that's one of the great moments in Nashville television history, though.
We look more like a disaster than anybody else, so I guess it was.
And so then, as I recall, we moved to Viacom, the cable company.
Well, I think Vicki was at Viacom.
But didn't we all end up there for a while?
I never did. I came back here.
All right.
But they were doing the cable thing, and we were doing the off-the-air thing.
Okay.
So we really had two little things going at the same time.
I remember I went back for a time before they got things running here and did some weather from there. So that was another venue that it was just a very chaotic day, and nothing could prepare us for that.
I look back at the tapes and I'm in amazement at how professional it really does all look. And then I say, well, we are professionals, so why shouldn't it look like that?
But I think for me, the big frustration was, here we are in an immensely important story and weather coverage for people's safety, and many of your tools are gone. And that was a very frustrating thing.
The 10 o'clock news, we were on the air for the 10 o'clock news. And that was, I think, one of our best newscasts. Despite being without all our tools, we pulled together something that I think was something special. And it's because of the professionalism of all the people at Channel 5, which continues to this day, I'm happy to say. I teach at MTSU, and of course my students 20 years ago were embryos, I guess. I don't think they had been born yet. And I showed them the tape of that, and they were amazed at what was happening back in that time. People don't realize what an impact that had on Nashville and East Nashville. No television picture can do justice to the absolute destruction that tornado caused in parts of this town. It was just amazing.
I think it made a big difference in how weather is covered. At that time, having a meteorologist on every newscast at every station was not the normal. it is now.
Yeah.
And technology is much improved, and I think a lot of the drive to do a better job with the weather can be traced back to that event when the attitude of Nashville and this whole area changed, that, hey, tornadoes can hit in the middle of the city.
I have a great new respect for tornadoes since what happened 20 years ago. But 20 years ago, Nashville was a much smaller town. And now it's just amazing that all the buildings have been built up. I would hate to think what might happen if another tornado hit the path.
And as time goes on, and there's not another tornado that gets that kind of coverage, then people's attitude tends to go down. You know, their preparedness level goes down. They're not as keyed in to the fact that this is going to happen. So there is a lesson too from April 16th, 98, and that is be prepared.
Be prepared. Instead, like a real meteorologist.